world is awash in oil. Black, gooey, thick oil. Soon there will be so much oil that restaurants will be serving it in specially prepped meals. There will be strip mall businesses dedicated to the health one will garner if one bathes in the healing qualities of oil. And any day now, there will be medical professionals revealing how having a natural childbirth while in a soothing bath of crude can only help to ensure long life and a higher IQ. Can't believe I got that all out in one shot. Let us begin there with the veteran economist, veteran of the Wall Street Wars, and author of The American Dream Under Fire, Steve Beaman, joined by the veteran economist, syndicated columnist, and economist at the University of Maryland, Peter Morici. Gentlemen, let's get right to it here. Peter, the banks, big banks, bracing for oil loans to implode, tens of thousands of jobs gone, headaches on Wall Street, doomsday scenarios. You buying it?
Well, the regional banks up in oil country have some problems. Folks have been in disbelief up there for a while, and they've continued lending money to companies that are producing well below cost. So there are going to be some loans fail. What's worse, though, I mean, there are communities where they were still putting up malls last fall, or they're having plans for new retail outlets and restaurants, thinking the price of oil would rebound. I mean, some loans are going to fail. I doubt that the banking system is in crisis for that.
All right, let's talk about that crisis then, Steve, because here's Wells Fargo sitting on more than $17 billion in loans to the oil and gas sector. If indeed these loans start to crater and the bottom, quote unquote, falls out, what do you think will be the end result to the consumer?
Well, that's a big if, number one. But I think this isn't the end of times. What you have is a benefit to consumers of falling prices. They've fallen too fast. The Saudis are pumping out oil faster they can get at it. And I think one of their goals is to break the fracking industry and cause these bank loans to fail so they recapture control of the oil industry. But I think at the margin, this will hit the economy. The Conference Board is still looking at a 2.6% growth rate or 2.8% for 2016. And, I think we can still look toward that. There is hope in the United States economy. I don't think we need to run for the hills yet.
All right. Now, here, Peter, is Iran. Now they're back in business. The Iranian National Oil Company has given instructions to increase output by around 500,000 barrels a day. They say if we don't do it, the neighboring countries are going to up their production. They're going to take Iran's share. Any truth to this?
Well, I don't know that they have to up their production to take Iran's share because they've had Iran's share for quite some time now. What's going on, though, is the Saudis are already discounting oil to Europe to try to keep the Iranians from returning to their traditional markets. So we're going to have a price war. The Saudis are more interested right now in depriving the Iranians of oil revenue than they are driving the shale producers out of business, though they'd like to get rid of both.
So, Steve, let's talk about higher prices for a minute. We've cratered now at this point as far as oil is concerned, or at least that's what the experts are saying. What exactly could send crude higher?
Well, I think what you'll have is a diminishing supply. As prices get lower, some of the marginal producers on the bottom end will quit producing. And I do think you could have real catastrophe in OPEC if they fight between the Iraqis and the Iranians and the Saudis. So you're going to start to see some agreement there, I would imagine. I can't believe they want to, bankrupt each other, and that's what this will do if they keep it going down.
Gentlemen, let's talk about Iran, if we can, for a moment, because here are the Iranians now with a tremendous amount of money awash in cash, thanks to the new deal cut by the Obama administration. And Peter, here we have Renaissance Capital, the Russian investment firm, calling Iran the last remaining sizable global economy cut off from international capital to reopen. Now you have 150 companies, according to the Iranian government, from 50 countries talking to Iran, getting involved in investment. Peter, fair to say that these are big multinational companies here. They don't care about, and you hate to say this out loud, they don't care about hostages. They don't care about deals. All they care about is money. Do you see everybody just jumping as quickly as they can and actually getting into Iran and making a lot of that money?
Well, Renaissance's assessment of Iran is right in line with mine. I wrote a column back when we were negotiating the deal indicating just how broad, diversified, and deep the Iranian economy is. The Iranians are very different than the Saudis. They have had a large middle class. They had a large automobile industry. In addition to oil, they have the mineral resources of an Australia. So it's a very sophisticated and rich place. I think that Iran has the potential to really be the economic superpower of the Middle East. Unlike the Saudis, they don't spend all of their time worrying about how to keep women covered up in veils. They simply don't. It's a much more modern place. Unfortunately, it is much more aggressive in its politics, and it doesn't like the West.
Steve,
that creates real problems, but it also makes it the natural ally of the Russians.
Steve, let's look at that from the business standpoint. You've got Iran now doing business with Airbus, Daimler from Daimler Chrysler. They're now involved in basically getting back in after 6 years. Do you see any backlash by consumers or by groups if indeed an American company goes right back to Iran in light of everything here, starts doing business with a regime that we are still talking about as being a harbingers of terror against us?
I don't see any backlash. In fact, I think that's part of why the S&P is expected to grow next year. I mean, we're looking at a multiple next year maybe of 17 times earnings if the S&P earnings continue to grow. And those are the kind of companies that will be selling to both people directly in Iran as well as to other companies selling in Iran. So I don't think there'll be a backlash whatsoever.
All right, I got about 30 seconds left. Question for both of you very quickly. Steve, out of all the candidates sitting out there on the left and the right, whom do you see as the person who has the best ability to deal in American finances and work with Congress?
Well, I hate to say it, but on the left, you've got neither of them. And I mean, none of the three. And on the right, I don't know. I think Trump's only got an interesting idea in that he's hiring the best and the brightest to write his economic policies. I don't see that out of the other candidates yet. I mean, Bush clearly in the mainstream would probably be a little better suited to negotiate in the middle, but I don't see him happening.
Okay. 15 seconds to you, Peter. Same thing.
Well, I don't see the mainstream Republican candidates as providing anything. It's the status quo ante. So it really comes down to Bush and Cruz, Trump and Cruz. And I think either of those are better qualified than the other Republicans. I think that Clinton will do very well in getting her plan going, but I think it'll give us more of the same.
Peter Morici, Steve Beaman, always a pleasure, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us with the Wrapped Opinions. We're back on the